The city of New Arcadia was full of lights, flying cars, and machines that did almost everything. But even in such a fast, shining place, some people still felt lonely. One of them was Leo Wren, a rich man who once helped create great medical machines. People used to talk about him on the news. They called him a genius. But after his wife passed away, he stopped going to events. He stopped talking to people. Most of all, he stopped smiling. Now, Leo lived quietly in a tall glass tower on the edge of the city. He had everything money could buy: robots to clean his home, a private doctor, smart machines that worked without asking. But what he didn't have anymore was joy. It's not since the day his daughter was born and the doctors told him she would never walk, never speak, and might never fully understand the world around her. Her name was Myra. She had soft brown eyes and long, black hair that her nurse brushed every morning. She couldn't speak, but her eyes said many things. Leo loved her more than anything, but he didn't know how to connect with her. She had a high-tech wheelchair, a robot to help feed her, and a screen that showed pictures, but it wasn't enough. Deep inside, Leo feared that Myra was trapped, lonely, and unheard. Every weekend, Leo took Myra to a small cafe in an old part of the city. It was quiet there, with real people instead of robots. The cafe was called the Clover Table, and it was run by a kind old couple. There were no loud machines, just the sound of plates, soft music, and laughter from the kitchen. That's why Leo liked it. It felt more human. He always sat in the same corner booth far from others, close to the window. Myra sat beside him, her wheelchair connected to the table with magnetic locks. The robot assistant usually helped her eat while Leo sipped coffee and looked at his tablet. Working on secret designs he no longer shared with the world, and every time they came, the same young woman brought their food. Her name was Lena. She was around 26. With gentle eyes and a warm voice, she always greeted Myra with a smile and placed her food carefully in front of her. "Hello again, little sunshine," she would say. "Nice to see you." Myra never answered with words, but her eyes always followed Lena, and her fingers twitched. Slightly tiny signs of joy that only someone truly observant could notice. Lena had noticed. She didn't know who Leo really was. To her, he was just a quiet father who loved his daughter, but didn't know how to show it. Lena had worked in the cafe for years. She wasn't a scientist, or a doctor, or an expert. But she had cared for her younger brother, who had a brain condition. She knew what it looked like when someone felt alone in their own body. One rainy afternoon, something happened that would change everything. It started as a normal visit. The sky outside was gray, and the cafe was warm inside. Myra sat in her usual spot, her plate in front of her. But her feeding robot wasn't working. It beeped twice, then powered off. Leo was on a call through his tablet, looking busy and tired. Myra tried to move her hand. The spoon on the table barely shifted. Lena saw it. Without waiting, she walked over and knelt beside Myra. "Do you want me to help you eat today?" she asked gently. Myra didn't answer, but her eyes looked right at Lena. There was trust in them. Lena picked up the spoon, scooped up a small bite of mashed vegetables, and slowly brought it to Myra's mouth. The little girl opened her mouth slightly and accepted the food. Then, to Lena's surprise, a faint smile appeared. Leo looked up from his tablet. For a moment, he froze. He saw his daughter eating, smiling not at him, not at a screen, but at a real person. Something in his chest tightened. He stood up and walked over. "You don't have to do that," he said softly. Lena turned, not scared. "I know." "Want to?" "She's trying to connect. I just listened." Leo looked at her closely. She wasn't dressed fancy. Her apron had flour on it. Her hair was tied in a simple ponytail, but her eyes held something real kindness. He nodded slowly. "Thank you." Lena smiled, still feeding Myra. "She's a very bright girl, I can tell." Leo didn't say anything, but inside his mind, thoughts began to spin. For years, he had searched for a way to understand his daughter. He built machines, ran scans, hired top doctors. But maybe the answer wasn't in the machines. Maybe it was in people. After that rainy afternoon, Leo couldn't stop thinking about Lena. He kept remembering the way Myra smiled when Lena fed her. It was a small smile, but it was real. And for Myra, that meant everything. Leo had spent so much money trying to help his daughter speak. He had used machines, voice apps, and even AI systems, but none of them gave him the response that a simple human touch had brought. That night, back in his tall, quiet home, Leo sat in his private lab. The room was filled with screens, tools, and glass pods. It was the place where he once created powerful health machines that were now used in hospitals all over the world. But now, it was silent. Just like Myra, Leo watched a video on one of the screens. It was taken from his watch. Showed Lena feeding Myra, gently talking. To her, Myra's eyes followed every motion. Her hands didn't move much, but her face was full of expression. Her cheeks even turned a little pink. Leo paused the video and stared at it. She connected, he whispered. He picked up a silver pen from his desk and clicked it twice. The wall in front of him shifted, revealing another room hidden and quiet. Inside was a chair surrounded by lights, wires, and a glass panel. It was the test chair for Project Echo, a secret system Leo had been building for years. A system that could connect one person's mind to another's without surgery or chips. He believed this tech could one day help people like Myra speak through someone else's brain through real, emotional connection. But there was one problem. The system only worked if the two minds could match a rare condition. Most test subjects failed. Even doctors, scientists, and trained caretakers didn't have the right neural wave patterns. He had tested hundreds. None passed. He looked back at the video of Lena. Could it be her? The next day, Leo returned to the cafe. Myra was beside him as always, dressed in a pink sweater and soft blanket over her legs. The sky was clear. The cafe smelled like fresh bread and warm tea. Lena smiled when she saw them. Back again? She asked kindly, placing water on their table. Leo nodded. You were good with Myra, thank you. Lena smiled at Myra and waved gently. A sweet girl. I used to help my little brother eat like that. He had seizures when he was young. Leo looked surprised. Is he okay now? He's doing better. Needs help sometimes, but he's strong. Her smile faded a little. People don't always see how smart these kids are. Just see what they can't do. Leo looked at her, thoughtful. She spoke from the heart, no fake kindness. Truth. He cleared his throat. Can I ask you something unusual? Lena raised an eyebrow. Unusual how? I'm working on a private project, Leo said slowly. Medical one. For people like Myra, I've been trying to build something that allows two minds to connect. Not through wires. It's just real connection. Lena didn't answer right. Away, Leo continued. I think you may have the kind of brain pattern this project needs. Would you come to my lab? Just to test? I'll pay for your time. Lena looked at Myra. The girl's eyes were calm, waiting, listening. I don't know anything about science, Lena said. You don't need to, Leo replied. You just need to care. And you already do that better than anyone I've ever met. The next morning, Lena stood in front of Leo's tower. She had never been near a place like this before. The glass doors opened with a soft sound, and a robot guided her up to the lab. The inside of the lab looked like something from a dream, glowing lights. Moving machines, clear floors, but nothing felt cold. It was clean, yes, but not lifeless. Leo welcomed her and showed her a small room with a soft chair and silver band. This is just a scan. No pain, no needles. Lena sat down. The band lowered onto her head. Lights blinked. A screen showed waves, curves, and numbers. Leo stood quietly, watching. Suddenly the screen changed. The blue line on the graph began to match with another line Myra's pattern. Leo's eyes widened. It's her, he whispered. She matches. Lena looked confused. What does that mean? It means, Leo said with emotion in his voice, you may be the first person ever who can link with Myra's thoughts. Not just guess. Actually hear her feelings. Maybe even her words. Lena looked at Myra through the window. The little girl was watching from her wheelchair, her eyes filled with hope. "I'll do it," Lena said softly. For her, the first test was planned for the next day. Leo explained everything. Lena would sit in a special chair. Myra would be in another across from her. They wouldn't speak. They wouldn't touch. But if the test worked, their minds would feel each other, even just for a second. As the day came to an end, Leo walked Lena to the door. "Thank you," he said quietly. "I've tried everything. But what you gave her yesterday with just a spoon and a smile, no machine ever did that." Lena nodded. "Sometimes people don't need big inventions. They just need to be seen." Leo watched her leave. He turned to Myra and knelt beside her. "Tomorrow might be the day, sweetheart. Tomorrow, you might finally tell the world who you are." Myra blinked slowly. Her fingers moved just a little, and somewhere deep inside, a spark of hope lit up not just in her, but in Leo too. The next morning arrived quietly. The sun rose over New Arcadia, casting a soft glow through the tall glass buildings. Leo's lab, the air felt different, filled with hope and a little nervousness. Lena stood in the main lab room, looking around. She had tied her hair neatly and wore simple clothes, but her heart beat fast. She wasn't a scientist. She was just a waitress who worked long hours. And now, she was about to be part of a test that could change lives. Leo entered, pushing Myra gently in her wheelchair. Myra was dressed in a white dress with blue flowers. Her hands rested on her lap, and her eyes were calm but curious. "Are you ready?" Leo asked Lena. Lena nodded, though she felt butterflies in her stomach. "Yes, I'm ready." Leo led her to a chair facing Myra. The two were just a few feet apart. Soft lights surrounded the chairs. A glass dome lowered slowly over both seats, like a peaceful shield. Leo stood behind a control panel. "We'll start with a low-energy scan. If your minds begin to connect, you may feel a strong emotion or memory. Don't worry. Just stay calm and breathe slowly." Lena sat down, took a deep breath, and looked at Myra. The little girl's eyes met hers. "I'm with you," Lena whispered. A soft hum filled the room as the system powered on. Lights blinked gently. The neural bands on their heads lit up with a pale blue glow. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then something changed. Lena blinked. She wasn't just in the lab anymore. In her mind, she saw colors soft pink, gentle, yellow, floating like a dream. She felt warmth, like sunlight on her face. And then she heard a voice. Not from outside. It came from inside her thoughts. "Thank you." It was quiet, like a whisper in her heart. But it was clear, and it wasn't her own voice. Lena's eyes widened. She looked at Myra, who was still silent, but her face had changed. There was emotion. A small tear ran down Myra's cheek. Leo stared at the screen in shock. To brain patterns, Myra and Lene had started to move together. Not perfectly, but closer than anyone he had ever seen. Their emotions were blending, sharing, becoming one. "Lena," Leo said over the speaker, "what did you feel?" Lena's voice trembled. "I heard her," she said. "Thank you." Leo looked at the data again. This was more than he had hoped. For his technology worked, but it wasn't the machine that made it happen. It was Lena's heart. After the session, Lena sat with Myra in the lounge room. She gave her a warm drink and held her hand. "I felt your world," Lena said softly. "It's full of color, music. You're not lost, Myra. You're still in there." Myra looked at her, eyes full of quiet joy. Her fingers moved slightly, like she was trying to speak again. Leo watched them from a distance. In all the years he had searched for answers, built machines and tested systems, he never thought a simple cafe waitress would be the key. Later that day, Leo invited Lena to his office. He offered her tea and spoke gently. "I want to ask you something big," he said. "Not just to help for one test. I want you to become part of Myra's care, full-time as her companion." Her voice. Lena was surprised. "You want me to? Live here? Work here?" "I want you to be part of our family," Leo said honestly. "You already understand her in a way no one else does." You gave her something I couldn't, connection. Lena looked down. She had never been given such a choice before. All her life, she worked small jobs, took care of her brother, and lived day by day. Now, someone was offering her a new life. Not just with money, but with purpose. She looked at Leo. If Myra wants me here, then I'll stay. The next few days were full of quiet miracles. With Lena's help, Myra became more expressive. She smiled more. Her fingers moved when she saw Lena. And during short sessions with the neural system, Lena continued to hear simple thoughts, colors, feelings, and sometimes words like happy, safe, and mom. Leo couldn't believe it. His daughter was speaking without wires, without machines forcing words. She was using Lena's heart as a bridge. He began recording their sessions, but not to show the world. He simply wanted to save those moments. Moments where his daughter laughed softly or cried gently while sharing a memory. One day, during a quiet session, something amazing happened. Lena closed her eyes during the link. She saw a memory, not hers, but Myra's. A soft room filled with stars on the ceiling, a mobile spinning above a crib, music playing softly, and a young woman, Myra's mother, smiling as she kissed her baby's forehead. Lena opened her eyes with tears. She looked at Myra. You remember your mom? Myra's eyes blinked, a small movement of her hand. Lena turned to Leo. She remembers her mother's love. Leo stepped back, overcome with emotion. His wife had passed away shortly after Myra's birth. He had always wondered if Myra remembered her at all now. He knew. She did. That night, Leo stood by Myra's bed as she slept. He gently tucked the blanket around her. Then he walked to the hallway, where Lena was standing. I don't know how to thank you, Leo said quietly. You don't have to, Lena replied. She just needed someone to listen. Leo nodded. So did I. They stood there in silence. Not empty silence, but peaceful. The kind of silence where two people understand each other without words. And in the room behind them, Myra dreamed of stars, laughter, and warm hands feeding her with love, not from a machine, but from someone who truly cared. A week passed. The connection between Lena and Myra grew stronger each day. Lena now lived in Leo's guest quarters inside the tower. It wasn't a mansion with gold or grand halls. It was quiet, peaceful, and full of gentle light. Everything was designed for Myra's comfort. Even the hallway lights dimmed softly when she slept. Every morning, Lena helped Myra get ready. She brushed her hair, picked a colorful dress, and made her feel special. Myra couldn't speak with her mouth, but through the neural sessions, she sent thoughts, feelings, even small images. One morning, during a short session, Lena saw a bright pink butterfly in her mind. She smiled. You like butterflies? She asked gently. Myra blinked twice. Her fingers twitched. A small smile formed on her lips. Leo, watching from the corner, quietly took a note. He was designing a new neural display system that would turn Myra's shared images into real holograms. Not for science shows, but for her to express herself even without Lena. Lena turned to Leo. She wants to go outside. Leo raised an eyebrow. Outside where? The park, Lena replied. She saw trees, a pond, a bench under a tree. Hesitated. He hadn't taken Myra to public places in years. People often stared, whispered, or showed pity. He didn't want Myra to feel that pain. But then he saw her hopeful eyes. All right, he said, we'll go tomorrow.
The next
day was bright and warm. A perfect afternoon, Leo drove them in his quiet hover car to Stonehill Park, a large open space outside the city. Trees lined the path, and children played near the lake. Lena sat beside Myra, helping her enjoy the breeze. Myra wore a hat and a soft pink scarf. People looked their way, but Lena didn't mind. She focused only on Myra, so did Leo. They found a quiet bench under a wide tree. Birds chirped. Squirrel ran by. Myra's fingers moved, and Lena felt a soft message through. The neural link. Happy. She smiled. I'm happy too. Leo sat beside them, not saying much, but his eyes were full of emotion. He hadn't seen Myra so calm and joyful in years. Suddenly, a young boy ran near and tripped. He He fell beside Myra's wheelchair.
Hey.
His mother ran over and helped him up. "I'm so sorry," she said quickly. "She all right?" Lena nodded. "She's fine." The woman smiled kindly at Myra. "She's beautiful." Then she looked at Leo. "She looks like a fighter." Leo gave a small smile. "She is." For the first time in a long while, he didn't feel the need to hide. Myra didn't need to be hidden. She needed to be seen. Back at the tower that evening, Leo called Lena to the lab. "I've made something," he said. I want you both to see it." He opened a small door in the floor. A circular platform rose up. On it stood a new machine, silver with a soft glow. "This is a prototype of the Myra project," he explained. "It reads her neural signals and creates simple holograms, flowers, shapes, even small objects she thinks about." Lena's eyes widened so she can show what's in her mind. Yes, without speaking or typing, just by feeling. Myra was brought into the room. Leo gently placed a soft band around her head. "Think of something," he said gently. For a moment, nothing happened. Then suddenly, above the machine, a glowing butterfly appeared. It was bright pink and floated gently in the air. Lena gasped. Myra stared at it, eyes full of wonder. She remembered, Lena whispered, "The park." Myra smiled. Leo turned to Lena. "I couldn't have done this without you. You brought her light back." Lena looked at him, touched. "You never gave up. You just needed help." Leo took a deep breath. "I want to ask you something more. I want you to join this project fully, not just for Myra, but for other children like her. If this works, we can help thousands." Lena looked surprised. "Me? I don't know science. You don't need to," Leo said gently. "You have the one thing this technology needs: real human connection, kindness, patience. You've shown more progress in days than trained professionals did in years." Lena thought for a moment. This was more than just a job now. It was a mission. "I'll do it," she said softly. "For Myra and for others like her, the next few days. We're busy." Leo introduced Lena to his small team, just 3 people, all loyal and trusted. They were surprised to meet a cafe waitress at first, but when they saw how Myra responded to her, they understood. Together they improved the neural link system. They added soft lights, better memory receivers, and voice mapping. Now when Myra felt something strongly, a soft voice could speak it aloud. One day, during testing, Myra saw a bird outside the window. The neural band caught her thought. A soft speaker near her wheelchair said, "Bird." Lena and Leo both froze. Then they laughed. She said it. Lena smiled. Her first word. Leo nodded, voice full of emotion. Her first spoken word. Not from a machine voice, but from her. Myra's eyes twinkled. That night, Leo stood on his rooftop garden, looking. At the stars, Lena joined him, holding 2 cups of warm tea. "Do you think people will believe this?" she asked. "They will," Leo said, "when they see it with their own eyes." Lena sipped her tea. Myra is not broken. She just needed someone to believe in her. Leo nodded slowly. "And now, we'll help the world believe in many more like her." They stood together, silent under the sky. Below them, Myra slept peacefully, dreaming of butterflies. Sunlight and a voice, her own voice, finally ready to be heard. The next morning, the tower was quiet. Sunlight came through the windows, filling the hallway with soft golden light. Birds flew past, and the sound of soft wind brushed against the glass walls. Inside the lab, something important was about to happen. Leo stood beside his desk, checking the final settings on the neural system. He looked calm, but inside he was nervous. Today was the first full human-to-human neural link session between Lena and Myra 1 that could last longer. Go deeper, and maybe even let Myra fully express her feelings and memories. Lena entered the room, wearing a simple white top and light blue pants. She had tied her hair up, and her eyes were calm but focused. Myra was already there, sitting quietly in her wheelchair, wearing a soft yellow dress. Her eyes followed Lena the moment she walked in. Good morning, sweet girl, Lena smiled. Myra's fingers moved slightly. Her lips didn't form words, but her eyes sparkled with excitement. Leo took a breath. Are you both ready? Lena nodded. Myra gave the smallest blinker sign for yes. Leo helped place the neural bands on both of them. He had upgraded them. Now they were lighter, softer, and more responsive. Once activated, they would begin the deep link, the highest level of emotional and mental connection possible without surgery. Leo stepped back and pressed the activation button. The lights around the chairs dimmed. A soft blue glow appeared above both bands. For a few seconds, there was silence. Then it began. Lena blinked as her surroundings slowly faded. Her body stayed in place, but her mind was now floating in something else, Myra's inner world. At first, it was like a dream. She saw colors moving slowly. Pink, purple, gold. Then shapes, clouds, butterflies, a swing under a tree, and then a sound. A voice, faint, but there, are you there? Lena's heart skipped a beat. Myra. Yes, Lena. Smiled, tears forming in her eyes. The voice was not loud or clear. It was like a soft wind in her thoughts. But it was Myra's. I'm here, Lena replied in her mind. For a moment, the two shared silence. A peaceful silence. A silence filled with trust. Lena saw more now. She felt what Myra felt. Warmth when she was with her dad. Joy when she saw. Butterflies. Fear when she was alone. And sadness when no one understood her. I was always trying, Myra's voice said. But they couldn't hear me. Lena nodded, her mind still connected. I hear you now. I always will. Back in the real world, Leo watched as both Lena and Myra sat calmly, eyes closed, but smiling. The data showed something amazing. Their brainwaves had synced almost perfectly. Not just on emotion, but on thought frequency. Something no machine had ever achieved before, Leo whispered to himself. It's working. Inside the connection, Lena saw something else. A small room, a crib, a soft song playing. A woman with kind eyes, Myra's mother. She was humming and brushing Myra's tiny hand. Then the memory faded. Lena felt the feeling that came with it, loss. But also love. She loved you so much, Lena whispered inside the link. I remember her, Myra said. But then she was gone. Lena's heart ached. I know. Your dad never left. He just didn't know how to help. He's trying. Yes. And he loves you more than anything. The link slowly began to weaken after 15 minutes. Leo had set it to stop before it became tiring for Myra. The lights dimmed, and the system shut down gently. Lena opened her eyes slowly, breathing deeply. Myra opened hers too. She looked at Lena with such peace, such calm. Her fingers moved again, and this time, her hand reached out slightly. Lena took it with both hands. Leo stepped forward. What happened? He asked gently. Lena turned to him, eyes shining with emotion. She spoke to me, not just words. Her heart, her memories, her dreams. Leo knelt beside Myra and took her other hand. Sweetheart, you did it. Myra blinked twice. Leo looked at Lena. What did she say? Lena smiled softly. She remembered her mother. She's not just hearing us. She's understanding everything. Leo stood slowly. He walked to the nearby screen and opened the latest data logs. He didn't care much about numbers anymore. Something caught his eye. The connection score was 97%, the highest ever recorded. He turned to Lena. You're not just her voice anymore. You're part of her. Later that evening, the three sat on the rooftop garden. The sun was setting. The sky was orange and pink. Myra sat in her wheelchair, watching the clouds. A small holographic butterfly danced above her, created from her. Thoughts, Lena and Leo sat beside her. I never thought this would be possible, Leo said. For years, I tried to fix her, but she wasn't broken. I just couldn't hear her. Lena nodded. Sometimes all someone needs, someone who truly listens. Leo looked at Lena. You've given her something no technology ever could, freedom. not just to speak, but to feel safe. Lena looked at Myra. She gave that to me too. She let me into her world. A small breeze passed over them. Myra's fingers moved. A new butterfly appeared, this one soft blue. Lena felt the thought in her mind. Even without the link turned on. Thank you. Life inside the tower had changed. Myra was smiling more often. She played with light holograms that floated like butterflies, flowers, and star shapes from her own mind, made real through her thoughts. With Lena's help, Myra had begun to communicate clearly. Using the neural link system like a second voice, Leo had also changed. He was no longer the silent, tired father hiding behind his inventions. Now he'd spent his time with Myra and Lena, planning a future that could help many children like Myra, but not everyone wanted that future to happen. One evening, as the sun set and the city lights blinked on, Leo stood in the lab, watching a message on his screen. It was a warning from his security AI system. Unauthorized surveillance detected. Drone activity increased near tower. Possible breach attempt. Leo narrowed his eyes. For years, big medical companies had tried to buy his technology. They feared it would replace their expensive machines and treatments. But Leo had refused to sell. Now, his silent Project One, powered by human connection, was finally working. That made him a threat. He tapped a button and locked the tower systems. Meanwhile, Lena and Myra were in the garden, watching the night sky. Myra had created a glowing moon hologram that floated above them. "It's beautiful," Lena whispered. Myra's eyes shone. A soft message passed through the neural band. "Safe." Lena smiled. "Yes, you're safe here." But at that moment, the soft sound of wings passed above. A dark drone flew high over the tower, almost invisible. Inside the tower, Leo's alarms turned red. "Lena," Leo called over the speaker. "Get Myra back inside now." Lena's heart jumped. She looked up and saw the drone. Without waiting, she turned Myra's wheelchair and rushed her toward the door. Just as they entered the hallway, the garden lights behind them burst into sparks. Leo met them in the hall, his face serious. "Someone's trying to get inside. Don't know who yet, but they're using tech that's not from this city. Military grade." "Why would anyone attack us?" Lena asked, breathless. "They want this technology gone. They want the world to keep buying machines instead of believing in people." He looked at Myra. "But they don't understand. You're not just a test subject. You're a miracle." Suddenly the lights flickered. Then the tower shook slightly. Leo pulled out a tablet and tapped the screen. "We're going to the backup lab. It's deeper underground, safer." Lena nodded and followed him, pushing Myra quickly. The backup lab was hidden beneath the tower. The walls were stronger, the doors thicker, and it had its own power source. Leo closed the main door and activated lockdown. "Lena, I need your help," he said seriously. "If anything happens to me, you must protect Myra. This system can only be unlocked by your voice and hers together." "What do you mean if something happens?" Lena asked, worried. "I built this tower to protect science. Never thought it would need to protect lives." Suddenly, a loud sound echoed above. "The walls vibrated." Leo turned to a small screen. "They've entered the top level." Lena's eyes widened. "What do we do now?" Leo took a deep breath. "We trust Myra." Turned on the neural system again and placed the bands on Lena and Myra. She may be able to control parts of the tower with her thoughts. "I built that option, but never used it. If she focuses, she can help activate defense systems." Lena looked at Myra. "Can you do that?" Myra blinked twice. Leo pressed the activation button. The system came to life. Lena closed her eyes. Through the link, she felt Myra's mind stronger than ever. "I will protect." The lights changed suddenly. Screens on the wall showed security drones flying up from the tower's hidden compartments. Myra was guiding them. Her thoughts were reaching the system. Alarm stopped. Metal door closed above, trapping the intruders. Leo stared at the screen. She did it. Lena opened her eyes. She protected all of us. Hours later, the danger passed. Intruders were caught. Police and security teams arrived. The tower was safe again. Leo sat beside Myra, holding her hand. "You're my hero," he said gently. Myra's neural band glowed softly. A message passed through. We protect each other. Lena watched the two and smiled. In one night, Myra had proven she wasn't weak. She wasn't broken. She wasn't someone to feel sorry for. She was strong, smart, and full of heart. The next morning, news spread. Though Leo had kept the project secret for years, he now made a choice. He stood in front of cameras at a quiet press meeting. With Myra beside him and Lena holding her hand, "I built machines," he said. "But I forgot something important. Humans heal humans. And this little girl, who couldn't speak or move like others, just saved all of us. Not with wires. With power, but with love." He shared the truth about Myra's connection with Lena. He showed videos of the neural link, of the holograms created from Myra's thoughts. He didn't sell it, didn't hide it. He gave it away for free. He named it the Myra Bridge. And with that, the world began to change. 1 month had passed since the attack. The story of Myra, the little girl, who couldn't speak but saved her home with her thoughts, had touched hearts around the world. People cried watching the news clips. Doctors, teachers, and parents began to ask the same question. What if my child can think and feel, but we just haven't found the way to hear them? Leo's invention, the Myra Bridge, was no longer a secret, and more importantly, it was now free to use, just as he had promised. Didn't want money or fame. He only wanted what Myra had finally found. A voice. Leo stood at the front of a large hall in New Arcadia's City Health Center. The room was filled with doctors, therapists, parents, and children. Beside him sat Myra, dressed in a soft white dress with small blue butterflies stitched on it. On her other side was Lena, holding her hand. This event wasn't about science. It was about sharing something human. Leo spoke clearly. "My daughter Myra couldn't speak. For years, I tried to fix that with machines. I forgot to look for people who could understand her without needing technology first," Lena reminded. "Me that sometimes, the heart understands faster than the brain." He looked at Lena and smiled. She was a waitress in a cafe, but to my daughter, she was a friend, a guide, a bridge. The audience clapped softly. Leo continued. "Today we are opening the first Myra Learning Center, where children with speech or movement difficulties can connect through neural bonds and emotional training with real people, not just computers." Everyone in the room stood up and applauded. Parents hugged their children. Some cried quietly. Myra blinked slowly, then looked at Lena. The small speaker connected to her neural band lit up. "Thank you, everyone." It was her voice. Not loud, clear. And it was real. Outside the building, a small garden had been built. There were flowers, butterflies, and a sculpture of a little girl in a wheelchair. Reaching up toward the sky, Myra's sculpture. Children played around it. Some were in chairs. Some used walking aids. Some couldn't speak, but they were smiling, happy. Seeing Lena walked beside Myra as they toured the garden. "She would have loved this," Lena whispered. "Who?" Myra asked through the speaker. "Your mom?" Myra was quiet. Then she looked up at the sky. Holographic butterfly floated above her head, created from her thoughts. It sparkled in the sunlight. Back at the tower that evening, Leo sat in his study, holding an old photo of his wife. He smiled softly. "We did it," he whispered. "Your daughter found her voice." He placed the photo beside a new one, Myra, Lena, and himself, smiling in the garden together, in the hallway. Lena and Myra sat near the window, looking at the stars. "You know," Lena said, "when I first met you, I thought I was just helping a little girl eat lunch." Myra's speaker replied, "You helped me live." Lena placed her hand on Myra's. "You helped me too," Lena whispered. "Before I met you and your dad, I was just surviving. Now I feel like I belong somewhere. I feel like I'm part of a family." Leo walked in quietly. It heard everything. He sat beside them. "You are part of this family," he said gently. "We're not just here because of science. We're here because of each other." Myra blinked twice. Her eyes were full of calm joy. Leo looked at Lena. "I've been thinking. The second center is already being built. I want you to lead it." "Me?" Lena asked, surprised. I'm not a doctor. You don't need to be, Leo replied. You just need to care. Oh, that's what made the first bridge work, and it's what will keep changing lives.
Always.
Lena paused, then nodded. Yes, I'll do it. For Myra, and for every child still waiting to be heard. Weeks passed. More Myra centers opened in other cities. Families began to visit, hoping to see if their children could connect through the new system. Some did right away, others took time. But every day, the centers reminded the world of one simple truth. Disability does not mean silence. One evening, at the new Arcadia Center, Lena walked past the therapy rooms. Children were creating hologram stars, music notes, even animals. Some shared feelings. Some simply smiled for the first time. In one room, a boy who had never spoken looked at his mother and shared a hologram of a heart. The mother wept and hugged him. Lena wiped a tear from her own eyes. Outside, Leo sat with Myra on a bench near the garden. You know, he said to her, you changed the world without saying a single word out loud. Myra's soft voice came through the band, but I said everything that mattered. Leo chuckled. Yes, you did. On the anniversary of the first connection, the city declared a new day, Myra Dea, celebration of courage, voice, and hope. The towers lit up with images of butterflies. In homes and schools, children learned. The story of the little girl who spoke with her heart, and the waitress who listened when no one else did. And in a quiet cafe on the edge of the city, the same place where it all began, new table was placed in the corner. A small plaque sat above it. This is where a voice was heard for the first time. And so, Myra's story became more than a moment. It became a movement, not of machines, but of hearts, not of money, but of meaning. And it all started with a spoon, a smile, and someone who truly cared. The end.